Picture a lion, a real one, standing a few feet from a single human. No gun, no spear, no fire, just a person. And the lion hesitates and backs away. Think about how insane that is. We're slow, we're weak, no claws, no fangs, no armor. On paper, a human is one of the easiest meals on the planet. So why does almost every wild animal on Earth run from us? Why are we, the soft, clumsy apes, the most feared creature alive? Because it wasn't always like this. For most of our history, animals were not afraid of humans at all. It was the opposite. And the story of how that flipped, how we went from prey to the monster that haunts every forest on Earth, is one of the strangest survival stories ever. So when did animals start fearing us? Stick around, because the answer will change how you see every animal you ever meet. Let's start with an uncomfortable truth. For hundreds of thousands of years, being human was terrifying. Go back to the early days of our species in ancient Africa. Our ancestors weren't the kings of anything. They were snacks. The world was full of giants. Cave lions bigger than any lion today. Leopards that hunted us in the trees. Hyenas the size of small bears. And they all looked at early humans the way you look at a chicken. We have proof. Scientists have found ancient human skulls with puncture marks that match perfectly the fangs of a leopard. One of our oldest ancestors was likely killed by a giant eagle. Our ancestors didn't sit at the top of the food chain, they sat in the middle, nervously looking over their shoulder. And the nights were the worst. When the sun went down, the world belonged to things with sharper teeth than us. So back then, an animal that saw a human felt no fear. If anything, it felt hungry. A lone human was easy calories. No creature had any reason to fear us because we simply weren't dangerous. Not yet, but something was about to change. And it started not with muscles, but with the one weapon nature never saw coming. The human brain. Our ancestors couldn't win a fair fight, so they stopped fighting fair. They started to think, and thinking gave them things no animal had ever faced. First, fire. Imagine you're a predator creeping toward a camp of these weak apes, and there's a wall of flame, heat, light. Every instinct screams, "Stay back." For the first time, the prey had something that made the predator flinch, and fire gave us the night back. A glowing circle predators refused to cross. Then, tools. A rock tied to a stick becomes an axe. A branch becomes a spear. And then came the real game changer, distance. Every other predator has to get close. A lion has to catch you. But a human with a spear and later a bow could kill from 50 feet away before you ever got close enough to fight back. And here's a secret hiding in your own body. Humans are the only animal that can throw fast and accurately. A chimp, far stronger than you, throws like a toddler. You can hit a moving target across a field. No other creature comes close. But the deadliest thing about us was this. We don't hunt alone. We hunt as a team that plans. One human is a nuisance. But 10 humans talking, planning, surrounding you from every side is a nightmare. No animal was built to survive. Our ancestors drove entire herds off cliffs. They dug pits. They funneled mammoths into swamps. This wasn't hunting anymore. It was engineering. And slowly, a message spread through the animal kingdom. Humans are not food. Humans are death. But how does an entire species learn to be afraid? That's where it gets chilling. Because animals learn this the only way nature allows, through the ones that didn't. Picture 2 deer. One is nervous and bolts at the sight of a human. The other is calm and curious and stays. Which one survives? The nervous one runs and lives. The calm one gets a spear in the side, so the calm deer's genes end and the nervous deer's genes continue. Do that for 1,000 generations, and you don't just have a few jumpy deer. You have an entire species born afraid of humans. Fear of us got written directly into their DNA, one dead ancestor at a time. But genes aren't the only way fear spreads. Animals teach it too. A mother elephant that learns humans are dangerous passes that caution to her calves. Crows can recognize individual human faces, hold a grudge, and warn other crows about a specific person for years. Elephants in Africa can even tell the difference between the languages and clothing of people who hunt them and people who don't. So the fear raced through the generations twice over, in the blood and in behavior, until entire populations grew up knowing one rule before they ever saw us. When the humans come, you run. We didn't teach animals to fear us. We killed the ones that didn't. And that's the key to the whole mystery, because the fear didn't switch on everywhere at once. It arrived like a wave. When modern humans spread out of Africa, something horrifying happened again and again. Wherever we went, the biggest animals started vanishing. In Australia, giant kangaroos and marsupial lions gone right as humans arrived. In the Americas, mammoths, mastodons, giant sloths, saber-toothed cats gone as we swept south. In New Zealand, the moa, a bird taller than a man, gone within a couple of centuries of people landing. In Madagascar, elephant birds twice the size of an ostrich gone. Island after island, the same grim pattern, always in the same order we showed up. It is one of the greatest reversals in the history of life on Earth. The apes that once fled at the sight of a big cat had become the thing the big cats fled from. And it happened so slowly that no single generation ever noticed it. But the animals did, in their instincts, in their blood, in the growing dread that seeped into every species unlucky enough to share the world with us. Now, scientists debate how much was humans and how much was climate, and it's probably both. But one pattern is hard to ignore. These giants had evolved for millions of years with no humans around. They had never seen us, so they had no fear of us. Imagine a 2-ton animal that has never been hunted, watching humans walk up and just standing there, relaxed. That lack of fear was a death sentence. The fearless ones were simply too easy to kill. And there's one exception that proves the whole point: Africa. Africa still has its elephants, its lions, its rhinos. Why? Because Africa is where we evolved. Those animals grew up alongside us over millions of years, as we slowly became more dangerous. They had time to learn fear the slow way. Everywhere else, we didn't arrive as a gradual threat. We arrived as a sudden apocalypse, fully armed against animals that had never imagined us. So the fear you see in animals today isn't ancient. It's the scar left behind by that apocalypse. But how deep does that fear really run? Modern scientists ran an experiment that proves something disturbing. Today, we are scarier than lions. Ecologists hid speakers in the wild and played different sounds to passing animals. They played the growls of lions, bears, and wolves. The animals got cautious, but then they played something else, just the sound of humans, people talking, calm, everyday conversation. And the animals lost their minds. They fled faster, farther, and more often from the sound of a human voice than from a lion. Let that sink in. To a wild animal, the gentle murmur of a human talking is more terrifying than the roar of an apex predator. And this fear doesn't just make animals run, it ripples outward and reshapes whole ecosystems. When the fear of a predator moves through an area, smaller hunters stop hunting and spend their nights hiding instead of feeding. Scientists have watched a single hidden speaker playing human voices quietly rearrange who eats whom across an entire landscape. Our fear alone, without a single shot fired, without us even being there, is enough to bend the food web. That's how deep it goes. Mountain lions abandoned their kills and ran. Even the predators, the lions and leopards that fear almost nothing, fear us. We've become the thing that scares the things that scare everything else. Not because we're strong, but because, over thousands of years, we taught the entire planet that our voice means death. Scientists even have a name for us now, the super predator, because we don't hunt like anything else. A normal predator takes the weak, the old, the sick. But we target the biggest and the strongest, and we kill at rates far beyond any other predator, sometimes many times higher. Nature spent millions of years balancing predator and prey. We showed up and broke the whole system in a geological blink. We emptied entire oceans of fish, drove the biggest land animals to the edge, and rewrote the instincts of survivors across the whole globe. All in a sliver of time so short the earth barely felt it. But is there anywhere left where animals never learned to fear us? Yes. and it's one of the eeriest places on Earth. Far out in the Pacific sit the Galapagos Islands, and the animals there are not afraid of humans at all. Birds land on people. Sea lions doze at your feet. Giant tortoises ignore you completely. Why? Because these islands were so remote that for almost their entire history, there were no predators and no humans. The animals evolved in a world without fear. So when a wild bird lands on your shoulder there, you're looking through a window into the ancient past. You're seeing the whole animal kingdom the way it was before we taught it to be afraid. When Charles Darwin visited the Galapagos, he was stunned by it, writing about birds so tame he could almost touch them. But that same innocence has a heartbreaking history. In the frozen north, sailors once found a gigantic, gentle sea creature called Steller's sea cow, with no fear of humans at all. It was discovered in 1741, and by 1768, just 27 years later, every last one had been hunted to extinction. An entire species erased in under 3 decades for the simple crime of not being afraid of us. And that innocence is fragile. The dodo is the most famous example. A large, flightless bird on a remote island with no fear of anything. When sailors arrived, it didn't run. Why would it? And within less than a century, it was gone forever. Not because it was stupid, but because it was innocent. It never got the memo the rest of the world had learned in blood. So let's come back to that lion, backing away from a single unarmed human. Now you know what's really happening. That lion isn't reacting to the person. It's reacting to a memory carried in its genes, passed down from every ancestor that survived by fearing us. It's remembering 10,000 years of humans with fire and spears and traps. When it looks at you, it doesn't see a soft, slow ape. It sees the apex predator of the entire planet. We didn't earn that fear with muscle. We earned it with fire and tools and teamwork and time. We are the ghost story that animals tell in their bones. And most of us walk through life having no idea. We think we're the weak ones, but to the rest of the living world, we are the thing in the dark. We are what they run from. So the next time a forest goes quiet around you and the birds stop singing, understand what's really happening. It's not silent because they haven't noticed you. It's silent because they have. Which leaves one last question. If we became this feared, this dominant by outsmarting everything around us, what happened to the other creatures that were almost as smart as us? The other humans, the Neanderthals, the ones who were stronger than us, who were here first and who vanished. What really happened to them? That's a story for the next one. So stick around. Because the scariest thing our ancestors ever faced might have been each other.